To continue with a coffee-themed steampunk, I'm going to make a second bustle. It's an incomplete version of the Retired Simplicity 1819 View B. I've made this pattern before for a steampunk version of Chell from Portal a few years ago for Video Games Live, and I'm very pleased how it turned out. If you want to know how to sew the whole skirt, either version A or B, let me know in the comments. Cut out your pattern pieces and clip your alignment markers. It's hard to tell which is the right side and which is the wrong side with this fabric, but everything is symmetrical, so it wasn't too confusing. Right sides together, sew the apron sides to the middle piece. Next, I mark the pleats with different colored pins. I paired up a red pin and a green pin for each pleat line and pinned them together. This fabric looks like burlap, but it isn't. It's much softer, probably either 100% cotton or cotton poly blend. It does tend to fray very easily, so every edge I could, I serged. Baste the pleats in place. Also sew along the pleat to help keep its shape. Repeat the pin technique for the pleats on the other side. Set the apron aside. Next, the cascade pieces. Cut 2 of each fabric and contrast fabric, and clip your alignment markers. Make sure that you sew mirror versions of each of these as to not have identical cascades. Sew around the top, curved side, and up the straight edge until the small marking indicated on the pattern piece. Flip it. Press with your iron. I also top stitched to help keep its crispness. Once that's done, I indicated the different directions of the pleats with the different colored pins. Fold the cascade. Press with your iron. Repeat 3 more times. Next we have to make some castings. I'm using twill tape, but this one unravels easily, so I'm using fray check. It's a liquid that will dry and harden to stop fraying of fabric, or in this case, twill tape. Then I folded the raw edge of the tape to secure it well. Using the pattern piece as a guide, lay down the twill tape along the line and pin it in place. Repeat for all 6 casting pieces. Sew along the sides to create a channel for a piece of cord to go through. Once that's done, I cut out only the back of the skirt piece. I serged and sewed the 2 back pieces together. Using the pattern piece as a guide, I used more twill tape to make 6 loops in the back of the skirt, and place where indicated. I sewed those down. I also added a zipper with the middle seam still sewn. Next, after securing the middle seam, I cut the zipper free. With the contrast fabric facing up, sew the smaller cascades to the front of the apron. Set the apron aside again. Time to feed cording through the castings. I use a small safety pin and stab the cording with it. Then I feed it through the casting with no problem. To keep the cording out of trouble and in the casting, I just tied the 2 ends together so that it would stay put. Cut out the waistband and interface it. I marked out the 2 small circle spots and using 2 pins, I marked where the center back was. I also marked where the center front is. I don't show this in the video. Line up the small circles and the center back of the bustle piece and the waistband together. Gather the bustle until it fits onto the waistband between these 2 pins. Sew it down. I realized after finished recording that I had sewn these backwards. The contrast fabric is supposed to be facing up. That cleared up. Sew the 2 larger cascades to the side of the skirt back piece. With right sides together, sew the apron and the skirt back together. I'll hem the side of the skirt afterwards. Match up the center back of the bustle and the skirt together on the one side and pin. Also match up the center front and 2 alignment markers on the waistband. Pin the front of the skirt and the waistband all around. Here's where it gets a bit tricky. On the one side of the skirt back, gather up the skirt so that it fits between the side seam and the matching center back with the bustle. On the other center back, pin the waistband at the zipper. And gather the skirt back along the side of the waistband. The bustle will have an overlapping part that will hide the zipper when worn. Once that's sewn, flip and fold the waistband over. Hand sew or machine sew it on the inside so that it looks nice and neat. Don't forget the skirt clasp to keep it shut when you're wearing it. Now the finishing touches. Untie your cording and tie the cording through the corresponding loops on the back of the skirt so that the bustle balloons. Since I'm not following the instructions exactly, the back of the skirt will stick out a bit. I sewed it up out of the way and created a third ballooned tier. I plan on marking the bustle with what looks like coffee branding and writing to make it look like it was made out of coffee bean sacks. Next will be a jacket, once I decide what jacket I like enough to make.